Croeso and welcome to Beyond the Track podcast. My name is James, the coach, commentator, lecturer and endurance runner.
And I'm Jenny Nesbitt, GB distance runner.
In this podcast, we're going to be going beyond the track, talking to the very best athletes and sports professionals in Wales and beyond.
We hope you leave better informed and a little bit more inspired about running and athletics. Hello and welcome back to episode 12 of Beyond the Track podcast. I am joined by my favourite co-host, Harrison, again this week. And we've got a really exciting episode with James Ledger coming up. But Harrison, how are you?
Well, thank you for having me again. I'm really good. How about you?
Yeah, not bad, thank you. I'm enjoying the cooler weather. As someone who's outside running a lot of the time, it's nice to not be so hot.
It's nice and cool, but obviously I've got to prep for India, so it's not working the best.
You have to get in the sauna.
Well, I just have to layer up for training. So.
And that's coming up for you?
Yeah, so that's going well. So that's exciting. But it might be a bit wet, so maybe that's...
Well, that'd be like home then, won't it?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Just 40 degrees and wet. It's just different.
So before we get into the episode, James, we're going to have a look back at last weekend's action. We'll start with the Diamond League final in Zurich. Jeremiah Azu was competing over the 100 metres in the final there. He clocked a time of 10:03 to finish in fourth place, which is a fantastic kind of tune-up in the lead up to the Worlds.
No, he's just shaping up really nicely. You know, I said last time that we talked about how he's just getting ready for that games and, being really professional and being ready for when it matters. So, got that indoor title. Let's see what you can do in
outdoors. And it's not long to go now until the World Champs. It kind of starts in the middle of September. So I think people are slowly heading out over to Tokyo, which is, exciting to look out for.
It's going to be awesome.
And away from the track, we're in Chamonix in France at the UTMB, and it was Chris Jones who competed in the OCC trail running race. He finished the 61-kilometre course with an elevation of 3,400 metres, which honestly is ridiculous. In a time of 5 hours and 5 minutes, which is outstanding, and it's a really high-calibre race. And one of these kind of bucket list things for a lot of trail runners.
It must be beautiful.
Finish in 5 hours and 5 minutes and in fifth place is an incredible result.
Oh, incredible. Do you think the scenery helps?
I don't know how much you're taking it in after a while, to be honest.
Being in the mix for 5 hours.
We'll have to ask him, as he is going to be an episode on the podcast soon.
It'll be interesting to see the difference in approach between someone who's running for 5 hours, someone who's throwing for 2 seconds. It'll
Absolutely.
Be a good little debate. And then moving on, obviously we had Manchester International now. Like we've all done Manchester International.
Yeah.
It's always a good event, I think, and I think they've changed it a little bit. It used to be very much like you compete for Wales, and now it's much more. I think it was a continental tour event. Yeah. So that was really good, and there was a clean sweep in the para-ambulant discus, where Brie Cronin got the win over Fumi. You were talking about how they're always having a bit of a ding-dong.
So good this year.
Yeah, so she threw 36 metres and Fumi going and throwing 34. But honestly, that weather was appalling. So it's really good for them to go out and then be able to kind of get some of those distances done in that weather. Being the ambulant competition, there was Razza points like there would be in the Commonwealth Games. So other athletes like Julie Rogers, who she got PB.
Oh, amazing.
Of 23 metres. But her Razza points were close to Fumi because of the...
And that makes it such an exciting competition.
Yeah. So for, the likes of these guys, they're going to be competing like that in the Commonwealth Games. So it's always good for them to get a bit of experience going and competing on Razza points against each other. And then there was a thrilling win for the Wales mixed 4x4 team with a new record time of 3:26.26.
Which is really kind of exciting heading into the Commonwealth Games next year. I know they're so keen to have a really strong team out there for that relay next year.
And crucially, over England as well.
Which is...
On their soil, so it's always a good experience doing that. Fellow Paralympian Olivia Breen won the ambulant long jump with a distance of 4 meters and 70 centimeters, as well as winning the 100-meter challenger event. So she's going back to back. Hopefully, I think in the Commonwealth it's 2 events for her as well.
Which would be amazing if she could pull
out
the double.
We were all there for her 100-meter win in the Commonwealth before. It'd be great to see her do them back to back. And then Tom Wally with an excellent performance, winning the pole vault challenger event with a height of 4 meters and 94 centimeters. It's just, he's in great. Every time I seem to be reading out, I'm reading about him and how well he's doing. So that's great. And then there was a second place for James Ledger with a wind-assisted 11.58. Again, with those Razza points, scoring 8.27. So, yeah, he's, coming into some good form, and it'd be great to maybe talk to him.
Absolutely, definitely. And kind of away from the track and back onto the roads in Cardiff as well, Butte Park. My, favourite 1 mile loop in the whole of the world, I'm going to say. I think I have done it approximately 3,000 times, if we're counting both directions. So I don't know if that's impressive or tragic.
Well, I mean, every time I walk into Cardiff, I'm always seeing some athlete that I know running around impossibly fast. So.
And that is why they hold the Home Nations 5K on this loop, because it is incredibly fast and it's great for spectators to watch. It's 3 laps and you can run across the middle to kind of see people on both sides.
Yeah.
So it's great fun. Even though it was absolutely typical Welsh weather, pouring down with rain on Saturday night, there was a really big crowd out there to kind of watch the action take place. The elite men's race was won by Jack Rowe in a new Welsh all-comers record of 13:31, which is a phenomenal time on the road. And he, I think, is racing the big half this weekend as well. So a great tune-up for him.
Excited to see what he can do.
Yeah, it was a really unfortunate race for Dowie Griffiths, actually. I saw it firsthand. He was clipped from behind and fouled probably about 400 metres into the race. But despite kind of falling, he still managed to rally, placed 15th in the end in a time of 14:17. But knowing Dowie, he will be back out with a vengeance in some other 10K road race in Wales over the coming weeks. The first Welsh man to finish was James Hennigan, who was finishing in a time of 14:21. That was his last race of the season, actually, and he's off to Australia next year. He's got a place working in a hospital over there, so it'd be great to see kind of what he does next year out in Australia as well.
Some warm weather training.
Absolutely. The elite women's race was won by Alexandra Ball, who crossed the line in 15:46. She's on a transition from sort of 800 to kind of marathon eventually, I think. So kind of she's dipped her foot into it this year, and she's performing really well. So it's great to see her take the victory. And the first Welsh athlete home was Olivia. She crossed the line in 11th place in a time of 16:29. So another great kind of night of action on that loop.
I tell you what, you endurance guys have some great competitions.
It's,
really do. I seem to talk about it every time.
Yeah.
There's always a really cool competition to talk about.
Something to do. But moving back onto the track and to Lee Valley, it was the Be Fit for Today Track Academy competition, and Sam Gordon was in fine form again, and he produced an excellent run to finish second in the first round heat in a time of 10:29, and then a time of 10:27 in the final, just outside his PB of 10:24. So it's good to see him kind of rounding into some really good form again. There was also a great result from Lewis Stevens, who has had a disrupted injury this season.
He seems to be coming back into some form.
Into some form again. So. He ran a time of 10:49. And training partner Alex Azu, Jeremiah's brother, he was fourth in the first round heat in a time of 10:53 before going even faster in the second round, where he clocked a time of 10:46. So great to see another really good result from him too.
It must be hard for those guys with the wind assisted and the wind not assisted. Like, you finish the race, you know you've done so well, and you have to look
at the clock and you see the plus, and it's heartbreaking.
Us throwers don't have to worry about it too much, but it must be heartbreaking. And then we had the Midlands Counties League Division 2 in Yate. And where we had a couple of athletes, Toby Richardson and Owen Terrell, compete. Richardson was victorious over both the 200-metre and 1,500-metre race, clocking 32 and in the 200 and 4 minutes and 8 seconds over the 1500. Tara was second over both distances, stopping the clock in 44 seconds and 4 minutes and 26 respectively.
Which is a pretty incredible range, really. I couldn't even imagine running a 200 and a 1500 metre and being really good at both of them.
But that is the beauty of the wheelchair athletes. Sometimes they can transition so well, and sometimes what you'll see is some guys are much better at the finish, kicking, and that transfers quite well to the 200. And so it's really exciting to see what those two can do.
Absolutely. Look out for those in the future. But that is it for our weekend roundup. So let's get into the episode with James.
Yeah, can't wait.
Today we are joined by Welsh sprinter James Ledger. James, welcome to the podcast. We're delighted that you're here to join us today, and we're super looking forward to kind of giving our listeners an insight into your crazy busy life and your athletics journey. But first of all, take us back to your childhood. What are your first memories of sport, and did it start with football?
First of all, thank you very much both for having me. Excited to be on the podcast. And Jenny, you're right. Actually, my first sporting journey started on the football pitch. Growing up in Swansea, I'm a Swansea boy from Morriston, and growing up in school with a disability was around fitting in and not standing out for having a disability. And naturally, being from Swansea, everyone wanted to be a footballer. So all my mates play football, and I thought, do you know what? If I wanted to blend in and not stand out, football was the sport for me. I hated it. I'm not a football fan now. I never have been really, but I just did it because that's what my friends did, and it was something that would allow me to blend in and again, as I said, not stand out for having a disability.
Yeah, especially that part of Swansea as well. Like, it's football crazy up there. Do you remember then your first memory of athletics? Like, how did you get into that then, if not liking football?
Yeah, so I played football for a long time, and I was content with sitting on the bench and like not wanting to stand out for doing anything bad or good. I was very much a shell of myself, and I think it wasn't until my father kind of spoke to me and said, James, like, this is not you. This is not what do you want to do? Because it's clearly not this. He wanted more for me, and he wanted me to excel or just become more me. And for some reason, I said, I want to be fast. And from that moment on, I joined my local club, Swansea Harriers. And from that moment on, I never looked back. I think my first session, I remember it so vividly. And, Harrison, as a team sport, I felt like the pressure of never wanting to do anything wrong because I didn't want to be blamed because of my disability. So I remember going to that first session, and it was just me. I loved that. I loved that feeling of I couldn't let anyone else down, and I became obsessed with being the best I could possibly be on the track.
Yeah. At what age did your dad take you down to athletics for the first time?
15. Yeah.
15.
Yeah.
So it's actually fairly late in comparison to a lot of other athletes. And your dad being a big part of that journey, did you come from a sporty family? I know your dad definitely played American football.
Yeah. No, my dad was almost like a jack of all trades, master of none. He's very sporty, and as you referred to there, he played for Swansea Dragons as a wide receiver for many years, and thankfully got him tattooed on my leg as one of my favourite photos of him achieving. And same with my mother, got a portrait of my mother passing her nursing degree. So 2 favourite photos that I hold really dear to my heart, and now I've got inked on me. So, but yeah, my father played rugby, played for Boney Mine. And did some swimming, did some athletics. He still holds the family record, which I'm not retiring until I get that record.
What is the record?
11-2. So I'm coming for it. But then my mother did some dancing as well. So, but both heavily involved in sport, but both understood that my life wasn't going to be normal, whatever normal is. So they wanted me to start feeling comfortable being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So you went down to the club, you were 15 years old, you were probably in this new environment you'd never been in before. How important was it then kind of being around other people doing a similar thing and kind of putting you in those uncomfortable sort of situations?
Yeah, it was enlightening, I think, for me, the word is. And, I remember Hannah Breyer actually was one of my first training partners, and I just remember she was so little. I mean, she hasn't grown much now still, but it's just so fast, and like watching these people wanting to achieve individually and aspiring and pushing themselves every single session for themselves. It really kind of inspired me and really kind of taught me, this is the life I want to live and this is what I want to pursue. And as I said, it became obsessed with being the best athlete I could be.
And do you think that's kind of helped shape the athlete you are today and the person you are today as well? Yeah,
for sure. I think it gave me confidence that I never had. Until I was 15, 16 years old, I was, I would hide from any social situations. If anyone knocked the door in my house, I'd run upstairs. Like, again, just like, it wasn't me as you know me now. I chat too much sometimes, but it really kind of showed me what was possible, even though I had a disability. And I think that is like truly shaped me on and off the track as well. But no, don't get me wrong, there's still very much days where I get extremely frustrated with my disability. But as I've got mature and I've got old, I've learned to harness and control my feelings and emotions around who I am as a person on and off the track.
Yeah, you've touched upon your impairment and your visual impairment. Like, will you talk us kind of through some of the details around that and what it is and some of the impacts you have day to day?
Yeah, so I was born with a condition called bilateral coloboma and nystagmus. Nystagmus, most visually impaired people have. It's the shaking of the eyes, I guess you could call it, and it's almost like a photo camera lens trying to find that focus, and it never quite finds that perfect picture. And bilateral coloboma, so bilateral meaning both eyes are affected, and it basically is a defect during pregnancy where the retina doesn't form correctly. Also linked to kind of kidney failure as well. So I've got one severely impaired kidney at the same time because the eyes and kidneys grow at the same time. So that has kind of affected, I guess, the whole of my vision. I really struggle with any kind of detail. Colours and contrasts and shadows are okay, but as I progressed then through life, I've had detached retinas in both eyes, with laser treatment has then reduced my sight to just under 3% total vision if you put a number onto it. And in terms of, I think the smallest things frustrate me the most, and things probably people wouldn't consider is, even the simplest things like, sitting back on your sofa and watching TV. I can't do that. I have to do that in a way that is suitable to my disability. So I sit extremely close and have the audio description on. Thankfully, my partner's got used to it, so she doesn't mind having it on. But it's little things, and I remember when I was younger, there's so many days where I just ask myself, like, why? Like, why me? Why was I brought into the world to not see? And, through athletics, it's given me a reason to be like, okay, this is why I'm here, and this is why I've been put on this path to not only for myself, but also to help others who are in similar situations to me. I always remember vividly a time in Cardiff Met. I was a Cardiff Met student. I was lucky enough to come here to this amazing place, and I remember there was this one lecture. I always had a TA in every single lecture with me, but one time it didn't. And we was in a computer room in the library, and there was the MacBook keyboard, and it was completely silver keys, silver backdrop, everything was silver. And I was like, great, okay. And I could hear people just typing away next to me and around me. And like, it was a moment where, the wall started closing in because I couldn't do anything. And, moments like that, I had to walk out, I had to leave, went back to my dorm and just cried and rang my dad saying, like, why can't I do these simplest tasks? But then And as I said, through sport and through the opportunities I had, this is why. And I'm able to do some amazing things that I never thought, that 14-year-old boy never thought would be able to do. So
It's
it's an
amazing
incredible
to hear.
story, yeah. And I think shows a lot of resilience, and kind of you should be so proud of that journey you've kind of been on as well.
Yeah, I'm lucky enough to be around a fair few people with visual impairments, and it always amazes me how different each visual impairment is. Even if you've got the same condition, you might be different with light and different with dark. And I always find that, like, you've each got your individual challenges around that. So yeah, it's amazing to hear. And talking about athletics within your visual impairment, you were T11, but you were previously T12, and you talked about how your vision is at 3% after the retina surgery. Would you talk to us about kind of that transition from T12 to T11?
Yeah, definitely. So in 2018, I was lucky enough to compete at the Commonwealth Games in Gold Coast as a T12 athlete, and post that games, I went to a normal eye checkup, and I was told that my right eye, which is my better of the eyes, had a detachment, and due to my condition, I'm pretty prone to detachments, just because the walls of the retinas are so thin. So when I had the surgery to laser it back on, which is, I tell you, worst pain ever. Like, I remember the doctor saying, "Oh, like, you have 80-year-old patients coming to you all the time and they don't flinch." I'm like, come on. They probably can't feel it. They lodge this thing in your eye to stop you blinking, and they have the laser just kind of welding you back. It was horrendous. But then, yeah, post that, the trauma of that surgery left me with less and less vision. And there was one moment in COVID where, and I was lucky enough, I did a piece for the BBC around COVID and the 2-meter rule, and it was just like, this is hard, because what's 2 meters? Because I don't have any depth perception, so what does 2 meters look like? So I remember walking to town to meet one of my friends, and people were just coming at me quick. And there's journals like, I haven't registered that they were there, and just people were popping up left, right, and centre. I'm like, ooh, something's not quite right here. So I spoke to British Athletics, and I said, I think I need to get checked again in terms of my classification. And then went to Birmingham, and that's when they told me then, yeah, I was going to be changed to a T11. And you know what? Like, it's never nice hearing your vision's getting worse, but I think I've definitely used sport as my kind of shield to, like, even though my sight's getting worse, I'm still able to do the sport I love. And I think that's the power of the Paralympics and para sport, is no matter what happens, I'm still able to do what I love.
And coming a T11 classification, then that ultimately led you to having a guide runner, Greg Kelly. How do you go about kind of establishing that relationship in the first place and finding someone that kind of fits your skill and ability, but someone you can trust, rely on, and build that relationship with? Yeah,
definitely. And so T12s, meaning you have the option to run with a guide, but not blindfolded. Yeah. So then I moved down to 11, where a guide is required, and then you are plasters and blindfolded. So a lot of people just think it's a blindfold, but we will put plasters over our eyes just to make sure it's a full, even playing field. So, but yeah, finding the guide was probably the biggest challenge. I've always felt I'm probably on the borderline of 12, 11, regardless anyway. So for me, it wasn't too much of a change in that aspect. But yeah, finding somebody who kind of like suited me. I run 11.5 on my own, so I needed somebody who was fast enough to be able to run comfortably, because I want to get to 11.0, 10.9. So I need to find somebody who has that capacity to run at that speed comfortably, because their job is not only to run, but they have to control me and deal with me for 100 meters as well. So they have to have that ability to, that speed in reserve. So I had a previous guide, McCoy Campingeli, who was amazing, and I was with him for 2 years, and then we parted ways. And then through Welsh Athletics, I was able to put an advertisement out of exactly what I needed. So I was looking for a 10-6 runner who had great communication skills and who wanted to join me on this dream, join me on this crazy journey of trying to help me achieve what I want to achieve. And Greg Kelly, the Scotsman, came calling, and it's from the first time we met, we were just like mates. And I think for me, I need to have that. I need to have that relationship. I need to have that trust within somebody, because like I'm running as fast as I can in the dark here. So I need to be able to trust him with everything.
Well, you talked about how Welsh Athletics helped you in that scenario, and do you think there's any other process that would make it easier for people to find guides or, something around? Because it's not an easy task, is it, at all?
No, exactly. And I think it's providing what is possible for guide runners. It wasn't until 2012 where guide runners actually got medals, which is crazy, because without the guide runners,
like 50% of the job, really,
exactly.
aren't they? Yeah.
I can't do what I do without Greg. So he deserves everything I get in my eyes, and I'm always a big advocate for that. If ever we win a medal, I'm on their necks. I'm like, is Greg getting a medal as well? I make sure he gets a medal.
Yeah.
British champs, Welsh champs, English champs, I made sure that Greg gets is recognised for the work he provides and puts in for me to help me follow my dreams. So I think but also that comes with great opportunities for Greg. I think, and that needs to be highlighted to maybe athletes who are not quite at that Olympic level, but they need to be, I guess, highlighted what is possible. You might not be able to follow your own personal dream, but you could help somebody follow theirs and travel the world, be able to get on funding, receive the best treatments, coaching provided through British athletics or Welsh athletics. And I think if that is highlighted more what is possible, I think that would become a lot more attractive for sprinters to get involved and want to get involved.
No, I agree. And I think sometimes when you look at guide running, quite often female athletes don't struggle as much to get guide runners because you can run male guides. So then for the likes of yourself, you want to go fast, you have to have very fast athletes. And then when you're looking at that kind of top end, they're going to try and be pushing for the next level. So that's almost the point where you're at, where you can struggle, but thank God for Greg.
Hey, we're going to be in a sticky one next year because we're both, trying to push for Commonwealth Games. And, Greg has had an amazing year this year. He's changed to the 400 metres. He was a 1 and 200 metre sprinter, but now he's doing 4s, and he's had a brilliant year. And it's looking likely he could feature in the relay for Scotland. So, but also be my guide. So it's going to be an interesting conversation, because this has probably never happened before. This could be
This is really
history.
niche,
He could be the first guy ever to compete for his own country, but then guide run somebody for another country.
How would that work?
Yeah.
I don't know. I hope it does, but I think what needs to be sorted is what is Greg to me in terms of that.
Okay.
I think it's an accreditation thing and a lot of logistics. I'm hoping people at Welsh Athletics and Scotland Athletics can come together to make sure there's no barriers in place for that, because obviously that is if that is a barrier, then that needs to be removed for me and potentially other visually impaired athletes in the future.
So does the guide not carry the nationality? It's just guide running. So it could be, you could have anyone from any other country represent you as your guide. Is that the
correct?
The case?
Yeah. I remember Libby Clegg, who's an amazing friend of mine, who's somebody who's helped me through this journey. Libby was a previous world record holder, gold
unbelievable
medalist,
athlete,
unbelievable. And I remember when I turned to T11, I was on the phone to her every day. She was incredible. And I remember Michael Huggins was her guide runner for Glasgow. And she's Scottish and Michael is English. And I remember him having to wear a kilt on the podium, which is so it does happen. So yeah, there's no issues with that. It's just Greg being so good. It's that he can do both. So one for the organisers, eh?
Not a problem for you. And let's kind of go back to the beginning of your career then. you were really successful kind of early on. You competed at multiple ISA World Youth Games and you got a silver medal there in the long jump. Talk us through that competition and perhaps how that kind of inspired you to continue in the sport and move, I guess, eventually to the sprints.
Yeah, so Colorado Springs, America was the World Youth Games, and
pretty cool place to
Yeah,
go to
I was
in the
gonna
first place.
say.
Like,
It was
if someone
cool.
offered me a trip there, I think I'd take it.
yeah, it was cool, and it was something that at the time I was pursuing. I thought I saw my path in long jump. I felt like I had that was where I wanted to be, and we went to the games and we achieved a silver medal, and that was the first time, and I really felt like I achieved something, and I thought I have to pursue this now. This is where I want to be, and I want to taste more moments like this, because as you both know, when you get to taste them moments, there
It becomes addictive.
it does, and every single sacrifice and every single thing that you put into it becomes worth it. You know, there's so many highs and lows in sports, and them highs are the highs of the highs, and they. So I really wanted to pursue that, and we achieved the silver medal there. My dad was coaching me at the time as well, actually, which is a special moment for us.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you know, I was really looking at London 2012 as an opportunity to go to the games, and it didn't quite pay off. And I talk about them highs and lows, and you know, it took a lot to kind of pick myself back up and look, okay, what is possible. And there was talks about the Commonwealth Games in 2018 for my classification, and the amazing Christian Malcolm came on board with Disability Sport Wales, and I was a huge part of long jump is speed, so I'd always done 100 metres regardless, and I think that's when I thought, you know, I need to specialise here. I changed paths, you know, changed direction a little bit, but the same goal was there. But yeah, it was then the 100 metres.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of people have to make that decision at some point, especially on the track. So it's, you know, I didn't realise you made it that late, to be honest with you. You know, we kind of came through DSW together as well. I'd love to talk about that as well, because you know, you talk about travel. DSW offered that. I remember, you know, how many times you must have been on the back of a bus going competing and travelling around.
Yeah.
I just think actually it's worth talking about that and how good of a opportunity that was at that time that helped you go and win that silver medal.
Yeah.
Were you around DSW at that time?
I was. Yeah, and you know, Anthony Hughes, no, rest in peace. He was a huge part of thousands of people's lives in so many ways. No, he was the first person that wasn't my parents to say, James, you could be something, and I'll never forget that moment. And like as a 16-year-old boy hearing that, somebody who had no dreams or aspirations before this point, some random guy saying you could be something, it changed my life. He was always one. He always did things his way, as you know. And you know, I was 16, 17. I was going on warm weather training camps to Portugal. You know, rooming with James Ball. Like, you know, really developing connections with other people who were in the same boat as me. I didn't meet another disabled person until I was like 16. Like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? I felt so lonely up until that point. Like I was the only person in the world who was blind. That was my mindset. And then until I met other people, it completely changed my life. So what Anthony did, and like he just took us. Like we went to Portugal, we drove, as you say, into Germany on a bus.
Yeah.
It really kind of develops you as a person. It really makes you become at peace
Yes.
with your disability.
Yeah. No, I agree.
No, meeting yourself, meeting Nathan Stevens, Alan Sean Davis, all these people, and it's just it completely changed.
How did you find DSW, or how did DSW find you? Because
somebody from Swansea Harriers told me about, because I didn't know anything about the Paralympics even.
yeah,
And somebody told me about the Paralympics from Swansea Harriers, and they told me about a talent ID day in Nyack. And I came up one day, didn't know anything about it, and I thought, what's going on? I met Anthony and I met Jane Coyer, who was the sprints coach at the time. Like, this sounds really cheesy, but like a whole new world. Like it was really eye opening, and it was I think from that point on I realised what could potentially happen, and dreams. I feel like dreams could actually come reality.
Yeah, I mean, I remember my time meeting. I was lucky that I was probably after 2012, so I knew about Paralympic Games so much. But then going up for the first time, going into Nyack and thinking, wow, this is amazing. And then like some of those trips to Germany or different places where they take you on, and like you start to understand your impairment, your disability, and like I remember seeing the German national team for the first time and thinking, wow, it's actually how you treat yourself in this, and like that's kind of the vibe I got from you. But also, not just for me going on those trips is learning off you. Like, I don't think you realise how important you are in terms of my journey, in terms of understanding that professionalism. So even within that, each athlete has a kind of role to play in the next one. So that was a big part of my journey. So I'm very thankful for that for you.
Thank you, mate.
And we'll fast forward to 2018. You made that Commonwealth Games team. You were off to the Gold Coast in the T12 100 metres. I was there too, and I always look back at that with such fond memories, and I still to this day think it's probably the most incredible sporting experience I've ever had, kind of from the holding camp to the village to everything, just being in Australia. It was so cool. What was that like for you, getting the call up for the team? Do you remember the phone call when it happened and like your whole experience out there as well?
Yeah, as you said there, it was incredible, and that phone call. And I was so happy Anthony gave me that call. And he always used to bother me, he used to ring me all the time. So I remember, like, he's rang me again. I was doing something. I was like, oh, well, I'll wait. And then he rang me again and he told me. And it was just like, you always wait for that call, don't you?
Yeah.
Like, people talk about the call.
Cool. Waiting for the call.
Yeah,
and it's usually like 8 o'clock in the evening. You've waited all day for this phone
Yeah.
call and it's not come yet.
Or sometimes it's an email, which is so
Yeah.
disappointing.
So anticlimax, yeah. But I couldn't describe how much pride I felt. And I said, like, I give my life to this sport, and like moments like that, it makes it all worth it. It's like so happy, and for my family and my friends and everyone involved, like it was all for them as well. And my brother lives in Australia. He's been there for 15 years. Aircon engineer, so it's pretty handy out there.
Yeah, crucial, I would say.
Yeah. And my brother's never seen me race, but the first time he'd ever seen me race was at Commonwealth Games.
That's insane.
And that's the only time he's seen me race, which was, for
Well,
me,
no better place to go and watch you race, eh?
it was incredible. And I just remember from the start to the end, and he's saying, like, no, our holding camp was in the Sunshine Coast.
Yeah.
Like, how amazing does that sound?
It is as amazing as it sounds as well.
And then, I remember walking out that tunnel, and I'm a very audible kind of person, sensory person, and I remember walking out and just 40,000 people, just that noise was something I'll never forget, and it's giving me like goosebumps now. And I remember standing in that line, and I remember I was in lane 7. I remember exactly the lane I was in, and I remember my family, my friends were in the top right here, and I just remember exactly where the sound was coming from. And then when they said my name over the tannoy, and like they must have gone nuts. Like they're from Swansea and so so it felt like it was a home crowd. It was crazy. And I can't remember anything of the race. I was just like, it probably the worst executed race of my life. But the gun went. I was like, go. But it was a very special moment for me and my family.
Yeah, it's amazing. Obviously, you're wearing a Welsh vest as well. How special is it to be able to put that red vest on?
I love it. I absolutely love it. I think there's no bigger pride than wearing the dragon on your chest. I think it takes you to an extra level. I love repping Swansea Harriers and I love repping DSW, but like when you got that Welsh badge on your chest, it's like I feel just elevated. I feel like just a different human. Like, do you know when, like, I don't know, you put your cape on, superheroes.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like when you got that vest on. It's a very special moment, and continuing that, what my family want me to achieve. My dad played for Wales under 20s, so he's had that Welsh caps and he's had that Welsh experience as well. So, following his footsteps of wanting to achieve, and I think that's what we will continue to do. And yeah,
no, it's amazing. After Gold Coast, obviously we had Birmingham, and that was a goal. Would you kind of talk us through kind of the process of trying to get into the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham?
I changed category to T11 in early 2021, so there wasn't a huge amount of time to kind of like learn to run with a guide runner and put everything together for the 2022 games. Didn't quite come off. We did everything we could, and I think we really gave it a good crack. And I think we were close, real close, and it didn't come off. And I think, as I talked about the highs and lows of this sport, the sport in general, like I think them moments teach you a lot about yourself, teach a lot about the team around you and what you need. And I think that kind of has given me even more hunger to try and succeed. And Harrison, you've known me a long time, and I feel like, I've had a lot of blows left and right, come from all angles. But I think what keeps me going is that passion and desire to achieve my dreams, and I ain't stopping until I do that. All my life has led to, it's the word you said earlier, it's resilience. And I think that has led me to continue to push and to aspire and to be resilient in not so good times. But I always keep looking ahead. And I'll have my moments, and I give myself a day, 2 days to get over it. But then as soon as them 2 days are up, okay, next mission, we're on it.
And I think kind of being able to kind of process like the low moments like that and put them, kind of learn from them, put them aside and move on is like a really strong attribute to any really successful athlete. Have you got any tips to kind of give our listeners on how best to go about that so it doesn't dent your performance a week, a month, a year down the line?
Yeah. I'm lucky enough to be on the Welsh Athletics Transition Programme, and I work with the amazing Louise Jones, who has taught me a lot about myself and is establishing that it's okay. Mm-hmm. Your emotions are okay. They're natural. When it becomes a problem is it when it passes, when it turns into a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, And I think it's not letting one performance or one non-call-up define who you are as a person, as an athlete. So I think have your moment, allow yourself to feel that pain, but you have to put it to a side, and then you have to look ahead to the next thing, because that'll come around quicker than you know it, and you have to be putting your best foot forward to achieve what that next goal is.
And talking about the next goal, got Commonwealth Games next year. Is that something you're hoping for?
For sure, yeah, definitely. I wanna get that feeling again. I wanna do everything we can. Me and Greg are working extremely well, and I think we're close to something great. We have take a lot of confidence in what we've done this year, and we know there's a big performance in there. So we haven't finished the season yet, so there's still more to come. And I think, hopefully we will be on that train. Won't be a flight with it.
I think it's a bus.
I think it's a bus.
Travelling in style.
We're used to buses, so that's
Yeah.
fine. But whatever it is, I'm making sure mine and Greg are on that seat.
And since being an athlete, you've had a few coaches, Matt Elias, Christian Malcolm. What has your coaching journey been like, kind of from the first moment you got into the sport to where you are now, and how that's changed with kind of the addition of Greg as well?
Yeah, so I've been very lucky to have some amazing coaches and amazing people. I think have shaped my journey throughout my career, and from the early days of Swansea Harriers, that people who are just inspiring me to get involved in athletics and pursue the best version of myself. To then, as you get further along the line, it becomes a lot more technical, a lot more kind of professional with that. And Christian Malcolm was one of my heroes growing up. Everyone knows Christian, and I've heard stories of Glenn Mills, Usain Bolt's coach, sitting Usain Bolt down and making him watch videos of Christian Malcolm running and saying this is how it should be done. So, when Christian came on board with DSW, again for Anthony Hughes, the best salesman in the game.
Oh yeah, you can sell you anything.
I remember that I had the opportunity to be coached by Christian, and I was like, yes. And I remember that first session, it's just like, oh my God, like crazy.
Starstruck.
Yeah, like so much. And he taught me so much about more like everything on track, but off the track as well, of how to control feelings and emotions. Like I was always been super, super hard on myself, super hard. And he helped me kind of like deal with these situations where things don't quite go so well. Because he's been through it all, everything, injuries, non-selections, making it, not making it. Like he's been through everything. So he's able to kind of harness my energy and off the track in the right way, or harness my passion. Passion can burn you up sometimes. It can lead you the right path. But he was able to kind of help me deal with that. And then through Matt Lyas now, the coaching has changed slightly in terms of how he coaches me. You know, there's no point him showing me something visually. There's no point. So he'll physically move my body so I can feel. I do everything through feel. So he makes me feel every position I need to be feeling through the whole race. We'll walk through every single step of the race together. So it's clear in my mind where I need to be at what point. So I've got that kind of timing of the 100 meters down to a T and understand where my body, where my feet, where my head should be. And obviously that includes Greg as well. So he's able to adjust sessions to allow me and Greg to really kind of work on that synchronization, that rhythm, that partnership to the best of his ability. And, you know, he fills me with confidence, and we're in this together, and it's such a huge team effort, and I think it's a really exciting time.
With Greg living so far away, how does that work with training? And, because you're going to need a lot of time together. How does that time apart, and how does that work? It's
tough. It's not ideal. And again, stress is the tough nature of finding a guide runner. There was no one really in Wales who at the time was in a position, I guess, to guide me on this journey. But thankfully, Greg stepped in. Now, so it's not ideal, but we maximise, especially through the winter. Like I'll go to Manchester for a few sessions. Greg will come down here, and we'll maximise as much as possible. And then we'll utilise a lot of. I can't run on bends really, so I'll do a lot of work on the straight with Matt and keep everything quite close together. That's how we kind of get around it, and I'll do a lot of blindfolded runs on my own out of the blocks in Nyack, so which I think everyone probably looks at that moment like, oh my God, but it's something that I do every day, so it doesn't fear me, and Matt has a lot of trust in me that I can do everything I possibly can with and without Greg.
And with all that kind of knowledge of guide running and athletics and vision impaired, would you ever consider coaching?
That's a great question. I'd love to. I would love to. My feeling is that I won't see enough to provide what I need to an athlete. I think in terms of like mentorships or a kind of a person that is approachable, I hope I feel I could be approachable. But I would love to. I would love to coach, but I just think with no vision, I think it'd be quite difficult to establish what I'm looking for and what I need from an athlete.
There's much more to coaching and, like you said, mentorship than vision and understanding that you're going to know what those positions feel like without being able to look at stuff. So, like that mentorship side of it could be really, really interesting. We're always interested to know from athletes kind of the perception of sport and of athletics, and if you've come across any barriers and any challenges around it, especially with your visual impairment.
I think often than not, the biggest barriers I put on myself in them early years, and having no confidence and being in the sport for 10 years where I was okay with sitting on the bench, that automatically created barriers for myself. That is what would be possible for me to do. So I think they were the biggest barriers I've kind of overcome and faced head on. But then logistically, again, is finding somebody who can support me in what I want to do in terms of that being a guide runner. And I think it's becoming more and more, I think, and that's why I think it's I try to promote as much of what me and Greg do, and Welsh Athletics do an amazing job as well of promoting or showcasing what we do. So them barriers become a lot more talked about. Hopefully soon, me and Greg will be working with the educational team with Welsh Athletics to look to put together a guide running course. So we want to take away these barriers, as you said, and we want to showcase, one, how to do it, two, why you should do it. And I think if we can do more and more things like that, then barriers I faced, hopefully they're not going to be there in 5-10 years to come.
And you mentioned earlier, like, when you initially got into sport, you didn't know about the Paralympics. And I feel like it's such a more widely common, like, well-known sporting event now. How important is it for you that people understand parasport, recognise the Paralympics, and are, like, really invested in following athletes in their journey?
I think it's hugely important. I think, first of all, I think London 2012 was a huge catalyst for change, and I think for me before them games, it was look at these athletes, look what they're doing. To after London 12, it was like, whoa, look at what these athletes can do. So I think it's changed from sympathy to empathy, and I think London 2012 showcased what is possible, and I think that needs to continue to happen. That that more and more para athletes become household names, especially in Wales. We're so blessed in Wales that we do so well. Like yourself, Harrison, like you, Alid, like you guys are the role models for these young people who are potentially feel themselves as different, and we need to continue to promote guys like yourself to showcase what is possible, and hopefully there'll be a lot more people with a disability wanting to get involved, not necessarily in athletics but sport, and make their own dreams, make their own journeys. And I think we need to continue to promote that and showcase what is possible, but in a way of, look at what they can do.
Yeah, it's exactly that. It's showing people what you can do, not what you can't do.
Yeah.
And I think if you've acquired your impairment or you've been born with it, quite often you're told what you can't do. But let's show them what you can. Let's show them what you can do.
And I think that goes at all levels of sport as well. You don't have to become the best, but just putting yourself in an environment where you're amongst other people who perhaps have similar journeys and understandings.
Yeah, well, you even look at, when the 4-minute mile went, it proved to everybody it could be done.
Yeah.
And sometimes you've got to be that person to go and prove that you can do it. Yeah. And that's what's so special about our sport, and that's what's so special about your journey and my journey and your journey, that we can go and do that and prove that to younger generations, which is so lovely,
important. And outside of athletics, you have a super busy life. You trained as a sports massage therapist. You used to work for DSW. You hosted their podcast. Now you work at the BBC. You're doing a sports production apprenticeship. Like, I mean, how do you fit it all in for a start? But, like, why have you wanted to kind of go into all of these other avenues as well around your sport?
I need an holiday. That's what I need. I think one thing sport has taught me is structure. We're definitely creatures of habit. So I think sport has given me the skills to structure my life and be regimented in a way that I'm able to maximize everything. At the moment, there's plates that are spinning faster than other plates, but that's okay. So I've always, when I worked for Disability Sport Wales, I really wanted to get involved with an organisation that has supported me dearly for so many years, and I was lucky enough to work as the National Youth Board Coordinator. So again, nothing related to performance sport, but it was an opportunity to bring an inclusive board together to shape what sport looks like for disabled people in Wales, across the board, from grassroots to performance. But as we talked about, the journey of Paralympic sport and kind of showcasing it to platforms to provide more opportunities and more coverage for people that deserve it, but also people who need to see it. So an opportunity came up to join the BBC as a part of the sports production apprenticeship. And I thought, do you know what, this is a great opportunity for me to create a platform for those who maybe not necessarily get the platform they deserve. So it also gave me an opportunity to develop my skills for whatever I go on to when it's all said and done. It gives me the opportunity to continue that work, and whether that's in the media, marketing, working with athletes to help them shape their lives, that will evidently help people behind them then. So I think kind of a lot of my journeys are led to this point, but I think it all comes down to creating a platform but inspiring the next generation.
Yeah, and that sounds like something you want to do after all of this, is kind of sport production and being in the media, something you really like and really want to do when this is all done, when we have to hang those spikes up at some point.
Yeah.
After you've gone and broken your dad's record, of course. You know what I mean? That's the crucial one.
Of course, yeah, definitely. And, you know, this journey's I'm on is for me at the moment, but evidently when the spikes are hung up, then it's about others, and it's providing others with that opportunity to realise their own potential. I think I would love somebody to approach me as an 8, 9, 10-year-old boy and say, James, do you know what? It's going to be okay. Like, you're not going to lead this path, but you're going to be on this one, and you just need to find what that path is. And I think I want to be in a position to provide that realization for others to become at peace with who they are. And that doesn't have to be sport. It can be music. It can be literature. It can be, you know, audiobooks. It can be anything. It can be anything they want to be. But that young person needs to be told it's okay. And it's okay to be different, because we're here for a purpose. And, you know, my purpose is one thing in a minute, but, you know, sooner or later it's going to become another purpose.
Yeah. And you're a busy man. And, you know, we talked about structure earlier, and actually structure is so important for you, because it's not as simple as you just getting in a car and driving somewhere. So that means structure from your entire family and makes life busy. Is there anything around that you like? Do you have any hobbies or anything do you like to do to kind of chill out and calm down? I know you like American football, because we often talk about...
Yeah, I do love American football.
Is it Bengals?
Yeah, Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow. Yeah, the best quarterback in the league. But yeah, no, I in my downtime, I live such a fast-paced life on and off the track, and I just like to slow it down. I just like to meet up with friends for coffees and, you know, go for food or whatever it may be. But it's just to relax and just be with people, be present. Because often not, you know, if I'm at the track, I'm at track, but if not, like, my mind's elsewhere. So it's being present with the people who I really care about, and it's that relax and not talking about athletics. I think it's really important. Yeah. Like, you know, the boys back home in Swansea, they don't know anything about. So which is fantastic, and but yeah, it really puts life into perspective when I'm in them moments, and I really cherish that time I have with people. I'm a people person, so it's that really kind of relaxes me and helps me kind of unwind.
And talking about food, if you are having your last meal on earth and you can only invite 3 people, and it's going to be hard if you're a people person, what's the meal you're having, and who are the 3 people you're inviting?
So not family and friends, yeah?
We'll
exclude
family and friends.
Exclude family and friends, okay. I love pizza. So
I reckon that's probably how have we got a tally going for how many people say pizza? Because it must be the leading.
The
food.
Toby Carvery was the best one for me, to be honest. That was
Mike
Big
Jenkins.
Mike.
Yeah.
You can't just say pizza.
Yeah, what we're having on the top.
Yeah. So a proper pizza, not a chain, but some kind of like chicken, jalapenos, onions, sweet corn, peppers, whatever, like just the works. But then, like last year I did it. So I had the pizza from Independent place in Cardiff, but I also ordered some Wingstop chicken tenders as well. So that was like my side, but also like a Dr. Pepper as well. I really like Dr. Pepper.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, pizza, some chicken tenders, and some Dr. Pepper. And do you know what I like? I've obviously listened. I've tuned into the show, so I knew his questions come in.
You've prepared yourself.
I've tried to, but I've been thinking all morning. I need somebody. It's my last meal on earth, yeah. So I need somebody to sing me out. So
I like it.
Yes.
it has to be, of course, Stevie Wonder.
Legend.
Of course, no puns intended.
Yeah,
but
I know.
Stevie Wonder. It'll have to be Usain Bolt. I know, generic, but I have to sit down with him. And do you know what? Somebody like, this is really random, and it kind of ties into my life for the BBC now, but Trevor McDonald.
Okay, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, interviewed some of the most iconic people ever.
Yeah.
So, like, hearing them stories would really kind of, like, be amazing to hear, no?
It's cool. It's a cool table.
It's a
very cool table.
So-
I am a bit disappointed you didn't say Lee Trundle. we'll leave that there.
So you've had your final meal, you sat around the table with these three legends. What's the ultimate thing you'd love to tell them that you've achieved in athletics?
I never gave up. And I think I would have achieved my goal of making it to a Paralympic Games, whatever that looks like. But I want to showcase that I never gave up. But also that the sport has transformed my life in more ways than I could ever imagine. On or off the track, it's made me who I am today. And if it wasn't for sport, I don't know what I'd be doing. So yeah, never giving up.
We like to finish the interview with the same question we ask all our guests, and that's what is the best piece of advice you've been given in your athletics career?
That you can be whoever you want to be. And I think, everyone has a purpose in life, and some people might find their purpose straight away. Some people, it might take a while, but like, continue and never stop finding that purpose, because when you find that purpose, it's a beautiful place to be. And I think your journey will be a lot sweeter, and that destination will be amazing when you eventually get to it.
That's awesome. And what one piece of advice would you give others?
Never let one performance define you.
I think that's a very good piece of advice to end on. James Ledger, thank you so much for being a guest on the Beyond the Track podcast.
Thanks for having me.
What an incredible episode with James.
Oh, it was amazing. He was so insightful, and I think some of the information that he shared was so important, especially around the guide running, and actually how important it is for him, and the challenges faced around that, and actually how beneficial it is to become a guide runner.
Absolutely. I mean, I learned so much I did not know about running blind, and that, incredible journey and story, and I've come away really inspired. Yeah,
he's a very motivating guy, and like I said, he was a big part of my journey into the sport. So, and he was very, he's taught me a lot. So that was really, really lovely to have a chat with him and really get his story across. But let's have a look at what's coming up.
Let's have a look.
So on Saturday, we've got the CP Games in Coventry. We've got a couple of athletes competing in that. So we've got Mia Lloyd in the ambulant discus, and we've got Jack Shane in the seated discus for that as well. So that's one of the last meets of the year. I think there'll be quite a few World Para Championship athletes go in there as well.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to be there as well. So it'll be a good competition. Yeah. Nice opportunity, just a little tune up before India. So that'd be great.
The big dance.
Yeah.
And in Cardiff on Sunday, we've got the Cardiff 10K. It's finally the road season, my favourite time of the year. We've got the likes of Dan Nash, Mike Ward, John Butler, Olivia Sim, Alao, Bynan Thomas, and Don Morris competing over the 10K distance. So that's set to be a really good race. And if the 10K is a little bit short for you, we've got the Carnarvon Half Marathon also taking place on Sunday. So we're right into the depths of the road racing season, my favourite time of the year.
It's always the wettest though. I don't understand why you're racing in the wettest time of the year. But it's amazing to see.
So that is it for what's coming up this weekend. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share this podcast with a friend, and we'll be back next week with another episode.